by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, better known as D.C.B, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving glory, honor, and praise to the Most High King of the universe, Yehudah, the only God, the only King. We thank the Creator for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We thank you all for joining us once again during this weekly segment of Tanakh review with Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, as we progress and get through this through these books. Right now we're exploring the book of Proverbs, and we thank the Most High God for the knowledge that He's given us throughout the past weeks. Now remember, if you have any questions, you could leave them below in the comments. If you have any questions for Nasik, you could leave them below in the comments, and make sure your questions are clear and legible so that we might be able to answer them when we return. If I can't answer them in the comment, then surely Nasik will answer them as he comes back on. So thank you all once again. I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth has blessed you all. Just give everyone an early Shabbat Shalom, and we pray that the Creator be with us all. Hallelujah. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform I'm on, the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel ben Saskar, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Prince Chiefs, Rabbinate, Kohanim, brothers and sisters, visitors. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. And I like to say, Adonai Sabtati Takufi Yagi, Adonai Sabtati Takufi Yagi, Tia Teaka, O Lord, on my lips, my mouth should declare thy praise. And before we start off, I'd like to just make a mention, extend my condolences, because we lost a great member of the community, which was known in the community as Ima Sarah, who's the mother of the spiritual leader of this particular channel, D.C.B congregation. And I'd like to say that my condolences extended to the family, and that one of the things, a great tribute, is that you have several members that exist today that her fame is not as known, her contribution is not as known. But she came from a mighty long way in reference to supporting Israel in a magnanimous fashion that very few people will realize. That her daughter, the first one to come into this way of life, is one of the daughters we know as Mikhail. Then she had other daughters, Princess Divya, and then Deborah, and also the spiritual leader at D.C.B, Chief Prince Ariel, and then the brother Bariah that passed on as well earlier. She had that many contributions of people that come in this way of life, and they was pillars of the various communities and congregations that they actually frequent and dealt with. And to show you the greatness, it wouldn't be no Bene Zakin Yakar, as they had on Knowlton. It wouldn't be no Shema. It wouldn't be no D.C.B. had and gotten a foundation start in the basement of Ima Sarah, who at that time wasn't participating, but just a kind heart that she had, that she exhibit to the community. She had such a kind heart that though she wasn't at that particular time participating in this way of life, she's seen the need to help out because of certain family members that was in this way of life at the time, and help them out, but not for a month or two, for more than a year in her basement. So we know that dedication, before she even become part parcel to the ideology, her heart was there. And it shows right then and there from the contribution of her own family members and her own contribution. That's one thing when the family members gravitate to the way of life and they say, I'm gonna do my part. But it's a greater thing when somebody doing a part for you that haven't quite accepted completely this way of life and then say, now I'm gonna be part parcel to this way of life. And that's a great legacy and a testimony to the greatness of Ima Sarah. And, she's going to greatly be missed. I could just say, may God comfort the family with all the other mourners as I am, and Dayan HaEmet, the creators, a true judge. So now we'll be talking on the Sidra. I'm going to do Proverbs 10, but first I want to go over some things in the Sidra. Mikwates, as some people might say. Before I do that, I got to address a couple questions that was on there. There's one question that was posed about how old was King Solomon at the time, and from the Sidra that goes along, the Torah that goes along with Mikwates. I don't really know. We know it's in this early part of his reign. I could just say traditionally we would figure he about 30, traditionally, simply because we know that he reigned as king for 40 years. And most kings in Israel didn't live that long. So, given that that criteria, I would estimate, and going by what most commentators would say, he was 30 years old at that time. And so, other than that, I have no other answer for that particular question. I want to address a statement I think somebody made in reference to the father's name should be Elohim or the Tetragrammaton, the Tetragrammaton. I don't, and I shouldn't use the word God, so to speak. I'll call him God. Well, I talked to a variety of people on this line. I don't know who's on there, such as yourself. I'm not sure who you are, but if that's your preference to address the Creator by a certain type of name, and then that's your preference to say he's the son of such and such, then that's your preference. I'm not here to change your ideology. I'm here to share some insight and points of view on the scriptures at the best of my ability. So if you have some other ability that's you see things a little different, then you have that free will. But I would say this, that we don't think of the Creator on the major majority of platform as having an ascent or descent, no parent or son. That's for the general population, for the people I address. Now, I'm aware of some people have a different concept about the father, the son, and stuff of that nature. That's not one of the concepts that I adhere to. So I just want to address that. So, and also, I find it kind of kind of strange that you would tell me to address something in a Hebrew term but yet you're typing it in all English characters. I could read Hebrew proficient enough to recognize and understand what you would try to transmit to me. So I just want to bring that out. And I hope it's not to be offensive, but it's to enlighten you on my perspective and my view on the observance. You're going to hear a lot of rain in the background where I'm at there because it's raining very hard in the state of Florida. So now, let's deal going to the book of dealing with the Sidra, Miquates. Miquates itself means, from the end, and what's unique is that this particular portion is usually read during the Hanukkah season. It's a few times it's read after Hanukkah just left, that you actually read it. But normally it's read actually during the Hanukkah season, and the Haftorah will be a different Haftorah because of how it would fall. Just this particular year, it happened to fall right after the conclusion of Hanukkah. And you're going to find some similarities and some viewpoints that could be related to this particular theme in the dream. The book of Genesis now, we're concluding in this book with dreams in the book of Genesis. And what's unique is that the book of Genesis have more dreams than any other book in the Tanakh. We have a total of 11 dreams. And I just want to, have people to think about them because it has some significant weights in some of the areas. One, the first dream we read about in the book of Genesis, we read about from Abimelech. The second dream we read about is from the patriarch Yaakov, who had the dream of the ladder, and he had a dream later on about, the cattle. So then the third dream we read about Laban's dream. All right. So then Joseph had 3 dreams, but we only know about 2 of them that's spoken of and elaborated on, whereas the first one's not elaborated. So right now we got 7 dreams. Now you got the butler and the baker. All right. That's 9 dreams. And then the 2 from Pharaoh, which is making a total of 11 dreams. Like I always like to, to say, the epiphany. Some people say, well, the epiphany of Abraham, could be like a dream-like state, but the word dream is used in those other 11 that I spoke on. And what's unique is that you find that only, you find the 2 of the dreams of Joseph didn't really need interpretation, but they was interpreted in his favor because it was quite obvious. And you find that only one dream out of all the dreams escapes all interpretation, which is the dream of the ladder that Jacob had. So we find that so the book about dreams, and some people like to study dream books and going through everything on dreams. And what makes Pharaoh dreams a lot different than the other dreams that preceded is that his dream, not so much to promote himself, but promote and assist others. Whereas in Joseph's dreams, when you're talking about the second dream that he had about the bundles of wheat that they was binding, he said, your bundle circle me and bow to my bundle of wheat. And so the brothers didn't need much interpretation because that was clear what it meant. You saying you're superior to us. Our work ethic is not as great as yours. So then when they talk about the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars, that didn't need much interpretation because he said they all bowed to me. He didn't even include himself as a star. He said the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bow to me. That's unique, in a sense. So take every little interpretation And so, but his father Yaakov observed the saying. And he interpreted the butler's dream, and he interpreted the baker's dream. And then he told the butler to remember him. Now, mind you, Joseph, being a unique individual, going through a whole lot of troubles, and yet we don't read one time that Joseph ever say, God, I need you to get me out of this situation. I need you to accept me, assist me in this situation. So we don't find that no time in the scriptures. And that's kind of, strange, mind-boggling, and something worth discussing. Why? When everybody that his first master could see God's with him, all right, the second guy that in the prison, the guy just over the prison, could see God's working with him. And yet, even when he was, dealing with it, he could not sin concerning his first master's wife. So he maintained some godliness. And then when he talked to the people, he showed some godliness and letting you know, and even in this dream here, God gonna give Pharaoh interpretation. So when he mentions all that, you say, well, why would he not pray hard enough to try to get out of the situation? At least get comfortable. So we're just going to explore some of the things and highlights it. And I believe a couple of things for us to, for you to discuss with your various teachers. In the 41st, and it goes from the 41st chapter of Genesis for those that might not follow the scripture like we normally do. And it goes from the 41st chapter of Genesis to the 44th chapter of Genesis, finishing at the 17th verse. Okay. One of the things I want to just highlight for the Proverbs is that the wording in here is very unique. So when those people that, might be proficient in Hebrew, and if you're not proficient in Hebrew, if you take your time and read and analyze the things in English, you'll see some unique things to catch, to consider. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed. And behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, which is kine is the ancient word for cows, well favored and fat flesh, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill favored, lean flesh, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill favored, lean flesh kine did eat up the 7 well flavored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. All right, I just want to look at that first part. What we could spot here, and I like to always bring this out because most people think of, and some books will translate cows, and the school I come from, we would think not cows, hippos, because you're in the Nile, you're in Egypt. Regular cows don't hang out where the crocs at, in the water. Only ones gonna hang in that kind of water in the Nile, well, is the hippo. And the hippo is called, the female is called a cow, the male is called a bull, and the young are called a calf. So that's what we got to admit, and envision that where the location is and what actually is there. So we don't get this bizarre thing about the regular, Elsie the cow or something like that there, that kind of stereotype. All right. And in the stream to try to understand it a little better. And then he awoke. That didn't startle him. He just awoke out of a dream. And he slept and dreamt a second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 ears thin and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. All right. Important that last verse, part of that verse, and it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. All right. So before we get to the 9th verse on that, and the reason I'm taking my time on this because there's a lot of things to look at and consider. This is usually, like I said earlier, it's read during the Hanukkah season. But when we talk about I just use the word cow, cows, cattle that come up first, that's looking good, and the cattle that came up second, that look ill-favored. We think of the strong, the healthy, the mighty, and then you got the weak, the not so appealing. And normally, most people would say, "Oh, I ain't got to worry about that little guy. I'm buff, I'm heavy, I'm built, I'm energetic. What I got to fear from that?" And here it is during the Hanukkah season. That's why a lot of times it's coincidental, not that they planned it. It's just coincidental that it tended to usually fall around that time. They're making an analogy that, the Maccabees army, you got the first sign of really a real guerrilla warfare, other than you talk about in the book of Judges, so to speak, when they had liars and weights. But basically, a major war that was extended for a while in the Maccabean Hasmonean family, where they actually had guerrilla warfare. They greatly outnumbered, and they were fighting against a strong, powerful nation of armies. And they holding their own for quite a while. And the embarrassment of a small army doing that. You notice in the dream, the good cattle that's well favored and the ill favored cattle, they stood side by side. The good cattle didn't just come out and just immediately jumped on the ill favored cattle didn't just come out and just immediately jumped on the well favored cattle. The ill favored cattle actually stood side by side. You could think about, and this you could discuss a little more amongst your teachers, but you say, if something's that hideous that and it stands side by side, then something's wrong over here. How you come out from the same spot I am and you're looking so poor, so raggedy. And then it jumps on and eats the well-favored. Now, what is so strange is that sometimes we have problems in life and we let it sit on the side because it seems little. It seems like it ain't gonna hurt us. We feel that this, things could be, be handled. If we rise up, we would just crush it. There's nothing, just a small speck. But in this dream, and any tyrant and anybody that would, that don't live in a more humane type of life will always fear a weak person getting stronger. Hence, we got the Exodus story. The Hebrews are greater, more and mightier than us, but yet they're able to handle them. They weren't. The Pharaoh worried about that, but that's another story later on to be discussed again. So, so the Pharaoh that had this dream did not at that time consider that first dream to be mind-blowing. It's the second dream. And one of the thing about the second dream, you still got the ill-favored eating up, the well-favored grass, so wheat. So why is it that, and it shows the time of plenty because it says 7 on one stalk. So how is it that only that dream makes him trouble? And if he was in trouble when he woke up, how come he wait till the morning? How much trouble can you be if he awoke in that dream? And then later on, it's hard trouble him, where he called for his people in the morning. The minute he woke up and I got an issue, I want to address them. Everybody else as the king, you would think that everybody got to wake up now. I'm the king. I got a problem. My sleep was disturbed. So those are some of the things to consider and discuss more about the dreams, and see how you can analyze that in different parts of your life, and how it can reflect in other areas. And you notice those that might look into the Hebrew. I'm not, before we go, we'll go to the ninth a little bit. Just finish out this dream area here, because I think it's very important for what I got to set the stage for. So he called for everybody to interpret a dream, the wise men thereof, and all that to deal with dreams, and could interpret a dream. He just wanted interpretation for the dream. 9th verse. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I make mention of my fault this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servant, and put me in the ward of the house of the captives of the guards, me and the chief baker, and we dreamed a dream. And one night, I and he, we dreamed each man according to his the interpretation of his dream. You notice is that according to the interpretation of his dream. Important to discuss. What do that mean? And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew servant, to the captain of the guards. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream, he did interpret. And it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. I was restored to my unto my office, and he was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. He shaved himself and changed his raiment, and he came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret. And I have heard say of thee that when thou hearest a dream, thou canst interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Now he's saying this before that he even hear the dream. All right. And this is Joseph saying, and how you know that Pharaoh gonna get an answer of peace? Could it be because this act of kindness, Pharaoh bringing him out of the dungeon, after 2 years, that the butler was there? And why the butler didn't speak up earlier? Why the butler wait for now? Could it be that the butler didn't want to bring attention to his own fault at that time when he just got back in and talk about, I need you to rescue somebody else that's been wrongfully put there. I need to make mention of his situation because he was able to interpret his dream. So those are some things to discuss. Why so long? We have a man such as Nehemiah, who also was a cupbearer for the king. Didn't he know that Jerusalem was in ruins? Why he wait for a particular time at a feast and look sad, and then decide to talk about the problems in Jerusalem? Could it be timing? Perhaps being a butler, why should the king listen to me when he just brought me out of a situation that I was that he went before he was messed up, angry with me? He brought me out of a situation and restored me. So I don't know exactly why he really wanted to restore me, but I don't want to mess up anything by stretching the point. Could that be? We don't know. So we need to know and examine those things there. And why did Nehemiah, centuries later, during the Second Commonwealth, when they're supposed to be rebuilding the Second Temple, who was a cupbearer for the king, why did he wait a while at a feast day to look sad? So, and then bring up the issue about the chaos that's going on in Jerusalem. So these are some of the things that we must, kind of consider going forward. Timing. So after that, I'm just going to read this whole thing out because there's a lot of things to be. So we know one of the things, 15th verse. And well, after he told Joseph, let me skip over. All right. We're going to skip down just a little bit for the interpretation. 25th verse, it said, and Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. What God's about to do, he had declared unto Pharaoh. I mean, you already been known. The 7 good kinds are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one, and the 7 lean and ill favor that came up after them are 7 years, and also 7 empty years blasted with the east wind. They shall be 7 years of famine. That is the thing which the Lord, which I spoke unto Pharaoh. All right, that's the thing which I spoke unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do. Now, this is strange. And he said, that is the thing which I spoke unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do. He has shown unto Pharaoh, behold, there came 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine which followed, but shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh. Twice it is, because the thing is established by God, and God will surely bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. And let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint overseers over the land, and take up a 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 years of plenty, and let them gather all the food of these good years that come, and lay up, corn, which is the wheat in that area, under the hand of Pharaoh for food in the cities, and let them keep it, and the food shall be for a store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou. Thou shalt be over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his signet ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures and fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Abarek, which is common. Sometimes they translate as our BINAH, because Barak is the knee, and also be blessed. The word was to be blessed, the blessed one. And he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphathneah, and gave him a wife, Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. All right. So now, I'm not going to go through the whole story. I just want to just bring out a certain points. When you look at the dreams that Pharaoh told his servants, and you look over the dream, what he told Joseph, Pharaoh himself was over the, not beside, in the Hebrew was like upon the Nile. The Nile is like a god they worship in Egypt. amongst ancient societies that worship, different different deities, unlike the people of Israel, people of the book, unlike Abraham, unlike Jacob, unlike Isaac, those people, when they rule over, when they worship other gods, they think of themselves superior to their gods. They work and look for ways to get their God to serve them. That's what most people that deal with idols and deal with other different religious concepts, they try to get their God to work for them. Pharaoh is standing over the Nile, which is a god in Egypt. So he's superior to the Nile. But when he told Joseph about the dream, now he's on this bank of the Nile. He's on the side. So he had different discrepancies when he described his dream to Joseph. Could it be he felt like, now I got to talk to this Hebrew who happened to be, we looked at as a lower level. I don't want to look too bad. So I don't want to act like I'm a god and did not know. And can't get anybody else, no Egyptian, to interpret this dream. Another thing to consider as we go forward, when you discuss it with your various teachers, is that though they try to manipulate their God, we as Israelites are supposed to serve our God. So therefore, we are the servant of the creator of heaven and earth. We do not try to manipulate our creator. We try to submit to the will of our creator. That's what Israelites do. That's what the people of the book, that's what Abraham do. That was Isaac did. That was Jacob tried to do. That's what any righteous individual try to do, to follow the God that created heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So with us, our concept is not to manipulate the creator, but to be able to submit to the will of the creator. Though we have free will, we try to submit to his will. Where in the other doctrines, they try to manipulate their God to perform their will. So that's a different concept, and that's something to really bear in mind. So when we looked at the dream too, when Joseph interpreted, he let him know that Pharaoh forgot the interpretation. He didn't forget the dream, but he forgot the interpretation of the dream. And that's something, it's almost like if you would say, what's that individual name over here? And you think about the individual name, you say, everybody calling it? No, that's not it. No, that's not it. Then how you know it's not it if you forgot it? Because it's still residing somewhere in your mental Rolodex. But they didn't get to the right spot yet. And the minute they call it and say, yeah, that's it. That's the name I was looking for. And so that's why Pharaoh had the interpretation. You had a king later on, such as Nebuchadnezzar, forgot the dream. He forgot the dream. He knew he had a dream, but he forgot the dream. And he said, you're going to tell me what the dream is so that if I know you could tell me what the dream is, then I know you know the interpretation there. So Daniel himself, had to deal with the dream. But one of the things is that Joseph got promoted higher than the butler. What is unique in this area here that you got to consider is that wouldn't have been sufficient for Joseph just to be free. All he wanted to do was get out. Wasn't it sufficient for Joseph just to get an interpretation of the dream? Not necessarily a solution. So, and given the solution, it would have been beneficial for him by giving him a solution or the whole world, known world at that time. So those are some things to discuss when we go in, when you discuss about this dream in this particular episode in history. And also that Joseph was already cleaned and brought up before the king. Let's talk about clothes. Some people say, come to God the way, God don't care how you dress, come to God, the way you are. Well, you come to God the way you are in mind, but not in appearance. and you don't stay the way you are if you come to the Creator. So Joseph, clothes had played a lot of roles in Joseph's life. He had a coat snatched off him, by his brothers. He had a garment snatched off them by his first master's wife. Here it is. He's taken out of the prison clothes, cleaned up, and put on some other clothes just to stand before Pharaoh. Naturally, got to be presented before the king. But now, because of his status, he got to be adorned with more clothes, elegant clothes. And I've been around a lot of, people, and they figure, you could dress any way to come to services, shop out and stuff. And I'm just going to bring this out in reference to, they say God, God don't pay attention to your clothes. Clothes don't matter to God. It's your heart. Clothes make a presentation, and clothes do matter with the Creator. So much so, he said the priest how to dress. But before they even talk about the priest, how the priest should dress, he talks about, and when we left Egypt, you're supposed to get jewels of silver, gold, and raiments and put them on your children. Raiments, clothes. They wasn't running around naked. God clothed the first man and woman because they realized they didn't want to appear before God naked. Now, what do that mean? Can't the Creator see through those clothes? So the thing is, when you go before the All Highest on any of them holy days, you try to do the best you can and dress the best you can. You are actually making, an appearance before the one that gives you life, the one that can take your life, and the one to sustain everything for you in your life. So you're making this appearance. So one of the things that the clothes that when we talk about clothes and stuff in that area, we got a prophecy that they talk about. The readers went to Torah when they talk about the high priest Joshua, and they say he had filthy garments on, and Satan stood there accusing him, and Satan was rebuked, and he had to change his garments, his outer garments, and his appearance, and he's told to act a certain way. But the thing is that you could go into a whole lot of metaphors with it, but I'm not just dealing with the metaphor. I'm just dealing with the basic thing that if you go to a basketball game, you dressed up for a basketball game. If you're a player, if you're a construction worker, you wear the clothing conducive to your job. All right. So if you are, a police officer, a person of a state, then you have the thing to dress up according to your job. So if your job dictates a certain appearance, how much more the Creator of heaven and earth? So it's nothing new. And I'm saying that because a lot of people, when we think of the Shabbat coming so regular, we don't think about dress appearance. Joseph was dressed presentable before the king, but not presentable enough for the status he was given. And then how it looks. A butler, just remember Joseph, and this guy, Joseph, was promoted higher than him. So since he's promoted higher than a butler, elevated to such a great height. The butler, well, you out. I got my same position. You got a position that you have never, ever been in before. And that is something there. When the Pharaoh could just say, look, I'm going to make you part of the head of the wise men for dreamers. When it comes to interpretation, like Daniel was the head dreamer. He got certain status, other statuses later, but he became the head because of his wisdom. And him and the other guys, Ananias, Azariah, and Mishael, they had status, but then they had the status that Daniel had. So these are some of the things to bring going forward in this particular portion. But I don't want to just belabor that. I want to bring out another thing too, that we know the famine hit, and talking about the famine was sore in the land. So we're going to skip right over to the 43rd right quick. and it says, we know Joseph had two sons. One was Manasseh, and one was Ephraim. I'll address those two names later on after getting to the central of YAH. All right. Those particular guys, Manasseh and Ephraim. But we'll talk about the 43rd chapter of Genesis. And it said, and the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn, they had brought out a beach. Oh, okay. I went too far. I want to go back just a little bit. 42nd chapter. 42nd chapter. Said, all right, because we know they had the famine hit. Since the famine hit, it was bread lacking in the land. And what the thing is that when this famine hit in Egypt, it's due in reference to the Nile. The famine in the land of Canaan, and now has nothing to do with that. It was due to the lack of rain where Jacob was. So whereas the Nile, whether it overflow or don't overflow, doesn't affect the countries outside of Egypt, they are affected by the rain. But yet, since Egypt had a famine from the Nile, the other countries in the land of Canaan, famine was caused by the lack of rain. And what it is that when we talk about from years of plenty to years of the famine, that the way Joseph described it, it's going to be immediate. That all them good years, you're going to say, well, I still got some leftovers. No, you ain't got enough leftovers. And if you do the same thing, you're going to have enough leftovers. So that it will hit just that hard. And those, say some people try to store some food up. Because normally we're supposed to, in our sabbatical year, have 3 years of, of grain. And the 6th year to carry us over to the 9th year. Well, if the food spoil, rot, whatever the case is, or eaten by the pestilence, it's over. It's done. It's only the ones that was under Joseph's charge that he had. So in the 42nd chapter, and Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt. And Jacob said unto his sons, why do you look upon one another? And he said, behold, I heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy corn from Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brothers, for he said, let's peradventure harm before him. And the sons of Israel came to buy among those that came, for the famine was sore in the land of Canaan, and Joseph was governor over the land. And it was that sold, it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down to him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spoke roughly with them. And he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamt of them, and said unto them, ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, nay, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's son. We are upright men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land are you come. And they said, we are servants. We are 12 brethren, the son of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. And Joseph said unto them, that is it that I spoke unto you, saying, you are spies. Hereby you shall be proved. As Pharaoh liveth, ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be bound, that your words may be proved, whether there be truth in you or else. As Pharaoh liveth, surely ye are spies. All right. Then he put him in jail for 3 days. All right. So, and then after he was in jail after he was there for 3 days, and says, This do and live. For I fear God, if ye be upright men, that one of your brothers be bound in your prisons, in your prison house. But go, ye carry corn for the famine of your houses. All right. Now we know the story. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we know that Shimon was the one that's kept captive. We know they was arguing and stuff and carrying on in reference to that. All right, but one of the things I like to bring out in reference to it is that if you're the food man, if you're in charge of food, what you worrying about security? Your job ain't about security. Your job is to sell grain. That's it. They got the money, they buy the grain. How is it that they the only ones been pointed out? And then notice the line of questioning. The line of questioning is that when Joseph asked them a question, they answer and then volunteer other information beyond the question. Instead of just answering the question, briefly, directly, they add stuff to each answer of the question that Joseph didn't ask him. So 3 times, pretty much, Joseph asked a question, and 3 times to add more stuff to the answer that he didn't even ask him. And one of the things you would say, well, no one to ask him, aren't you the fool, man? Since when are you in charge of security? How come we the only one stop here? But then as the vizier, he could say, I got, the welfare of the state at hand as well. So I'm wearing more than one hat. I'm not just the food man. I'm not just the guy that's dealing with the accounting work. I'm the guy that actually deal with the security of the nation. So, but on the surface, it would say, well, you here to sell, you're just a manager of the store. You just handle grain. You ain't the head of state. You're not the general of the army. So this is some of the things that's brought out here. And it said, notice how they say the brothers of Joseph, as opposed to, Joseph brothers. These terms means a lot when we look at the terminology. And then it said the 10 guys. Benjamin's still back. And Jacob, I want to bring this point out before we go forward and just touch on it briefly, is that when you think about Jacob fear, why does Jacob fear to send Benjamin? Because in that family, that side of the family, they had a pattern. And with the pattern that you have, you can further discuss with your teachers though. The pattern that they mostly had was that the mother traveling died. Joseph traveling disappeared. So soon dead. This is the last one for Raquel. I don't want to send him out because he might wind up missing too. Because nobody seemed to make a journey to the end and in return. Raquel died partway to a destination and she's buried on the side of a road. Joseph went to see his welfare of his brothers and supposed to return. He went beyond, never to return. And now, if I send Benjamin, that's a pattern. So some people pay attention to certain patterns to certain family incidents. And you're going to see that other patterns come about later on too, where there's, prejudge certain things because it seems to be a pattern. So we know automatically that these guys here, they kept Shimon there and he went back for a while. But one of the things that's interesting is that he locks them up with no proof, saying they're spies, and then say, I fear God. This is what I'm going to do. So he said, well, wow, what kind of God he fear? We said we ain't spies. He didn't prove we're spies. He looking for proof that say that we're not spies, but yet he feared God. So that could be very puzzling for a person that consider themselves what is godly. So that makes them even more strange. And then it's the first time you hear about an interpreter, Joseph speaking to him during an interpreter in this particular portion. And we know automatically, how things go, that, we read that eventually they wind up coming back and being sent back by Yaakov, and Yaakov used, the prayer, double the money, and everything like that when he sends Benjamin. So we're gonna stop right there, because Jacob is persuaded. But Reuben came up with a bad suggestion. He said, "Kill my two sons, but I'll bring Benjamin back." That's still a double jeopardy. And then what's strange about it is that how could you sit back for a while? Now, basically 7 days to travel between Egypt and, if you take your time even more, I'm 11, but the most. But basically 7 days to go from where they were located to Egypt and back. So if you're going back and forth to Egypt, it's a 14-day journey. Besides a day rest over there when you're there doing the business. So, you're talking about 15 days, a half a month. You mean to tell me you're going to sit down after, all that time, eat, wait till the food run out, just about get low, and Simeon is still left behind. Nobody go to rescue Simeon, but yet you rescue Dinah. So that's something to consider. You go rescue Dinah that's abducted in a city, but you won't rescue Simeon that's bound up. 2 guys wipe out a city, and 10 guys can't come home free. So now you can understand Jacob's reluctance that it's just the same dudes that did all this stuff to Shechem. It's just the same guys that go on down there. These the big guys that went on down there, and you mean tell me that they stayed 3 days in jail, and then one of them had to still stick behind, and they sit down and eat, almost like when Joseph was in the pit and sat down and ate. So it's almost like measure for measure. So when you can see a lot of analogies in the story, and we'll address it later on. But I'm gonna go to Proverbs, the 10th chapter, so I can be in time for the next speaker. So, but basically, I would like for everybody to go over different aspects of this particular story. When we read about Jacob finally sending Benjamin, we know Benjamin is put in a situation where he looks like he's a thief. Look like he stole. And this is where we come into where next week is one of my favorite portions of the book when they talk about Yehudah and the situation of YAH. But when we look at the Benjamin thing, why wouldn't they be surprised that's in Benjamin's stash? Because the mother has some stash. These are patent. Your mama stole some stuff, so we won't put it past them. We ain't gonna put it past them. Because your mama stole the father's guards. So, I mean, maybe thievery running the family. Sometimes you gotta find people DNA. I tell my kids that. If you're gonna marry somebody, you gotta find out what their family background is. It might be a family history of kleptos. But this is why it would look more, more suspicious and condemning for Benjamin, simply because that his mother happened to be a thief. And for whatever reason, she stole it for. I know the Midrash had one thing, is one issue about it. But I'm saying, whatever reason she took the idols for, she took it. And hid it. And now this goblet that he divines with. So you figure both spiritual things. A goblet that's used to divine, and the idols that people worship, that will be spiritual. So, and Benjamin, original name would have been son of my sorrow. And he said, now son of my right hand. They said, maybe the sorrow come in. So there's a lot of stories here that could be unfolded when you discuss it. So we're just going to Proverbs, the 10th chapter. It's mostly one-liners in the Proverbs, the 10th chapter.
Going to the book of Proverbs, chapter 10. It reads, the Proverbs of Solomon, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother.
Wow, you say it ain't a grief to his father? It's only a grief to his mother? We know it's more than that, but one of the things we think about, when the son is wise, the father can hold out his chest. Okay, it's like him all over again. And say, look, and you're looking for your child to be better. But when the son don't exercise that kind of intellect, now parenting The mother had one role to play, and the father had another role to play. But the first major lessons to gear him up and prime him is from the mother. So therefore, they tend to, in the ancient times, look at the mother because you're the first teacher. You first tell them how to say the ABC. You're the first one to say, you introduce your child to Abba. Say, that's Abba, that's Abba, that's Abba. Abba never entered and say, that's Ima, Ima, Ima. But the mother used to say, that's Abba, that's Abba, that's Abba. Say Abba, Abba. And Abba want to make sure you learn how to say Abba too, because he ain't around that much for you to learn to say Abba. So these are some of the things. But when the child is progressive, then the father brags about it, in that area. And so the deeds of a wise son reflects the father's character. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 2, treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. Yehovah will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he thrusteth away the desire of the wicked.
All right. See, this second book of Proverbs, starting from the 10th chapter, they have more proverbial one-liners in it, and it's always counted. That count is opposition within the lines. And one of the things is that when we look at the Proverbs here, it says, in a nutshell, what we say today, crime do not pay. That's the Proverbs saying, crime do not pay. And the treasures of the wicked profit nothing. And then, but I want you to understand that we ain't talking about immortality in this area here either. So some people figure, hey, if I'm righteous, I'm supposed to live forever. No, the person's not saying this is a sign of immortality. All right. You got, but you'll live a good life. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 4, he becometh poor that dealeth for the slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. A wise man gathereth in summer, but a son that doeth shamefully sleepeth in harvest.
All right, in other words, you got to put work in. A lot of people don't like to put work in. Some guys, I ain't going to work today. Why you ain't going to work today? I'm tired. You don't need the money? Yeah, but the money ain't that important right now. So you got a family? So yeah. Well, do they feel like missing the meal? Oh man, they all right. They get by. So this is one of the things showing about, a person that got to put work in. You got to put work in. That's what the Proverbs teaching you. That the opposite of a guy that actually put the work in going to benefit, and the guy that don't put work in won't benefit. So the same thing with everything in life. If you don't put the effort in, you won't achieve much. You only achieve what you put in. Continue.
It reads, verse 6,
Right.
blessings are upon the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked concealeth violence. The memory of the righteous shall be for a blessing, but the name of the wicked shall rot.
Okay, I'll write there. In other words, and sometimes you might find some tombstones, you go to, say, a Jewish cemetery per se, you see ZTL, Zakir, Zadak, Zakir, Zadik, Laparu, Labraka, rather, for a blessing. So may his memory be for a blessing. Zakir, like that. Zadik, Laparu. Labraka, rather. I keep saying Labraka. Think about the prayer. But it's supposed to be for a blessing. So that's where you'll find that a lot of times on some tombstones and different memories on different plats, that's for a memorial. And this here proverb, it comes from this particular proverb. They take the letters, each letter from each one of those things. The Zayin, they take the Zadik, and they take the Lamed. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 8, the wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh securely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be found out. He that winketh with the eye, he that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, and a prating fool shall fall.
Okay, hold on right there. Now, first of all, like I said, you have a lot of opposition here, contrasts. And one of the things, if you're wise and hard, and say you receive commandments, I mean, you still need instructions, you still need a guide, you still need a pattern, and say you will receive that because you know it's for your benefit. But other people, I mean, if you're a fool, a guy that boasts and say I know this and know that, you're gonna fall. All right, and then talk about how well the righteous walk uprightly, but a person that's perverting his ways shall be found out. In other words, you can't hide it. You won't be able to hide it. A person that's upright, and his pattern, he has no fear. He's the same today, the same tomorrow, and anybody that look at him will say that's his pattern. All right, but then a guy that's perverse and foolish and try to put on a show, they figure him out right away. He said, this is a scammer, this is a schemer. Continue.
It reads,
11.
verse 11, the mouth of the righteous is
10,
a fountain.
sorry. The 10, I forgot. The 10. Did we finish the 10?
Verse 10,
Yeah.
he that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, and a prating fool shall fall.
Okay. All right. That means right then and there, you ain't trying to be truthful. You wink with the eye. I explained that earlier in the early Proverbs. A wink is a sign language to be deceptive. But all right, now pick up from 11.
Verse 11, it reads, the mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked concealeth violence.
And there's something. I mean, if you're righteous, rather automatically, you able to tell people something that can sustain them. And that's the thing, is because you're gonna be able to tell from example. This worked for me because this is my benefit. This is what I gained from that. It's like a testimony, of your righteousness. So if you're righteous, automatically, you're gonna be like a fountain of life to other people because you want to see them prosper. And Moses, and Pharaoh's dream, Joseph was not concerned only about his well-being. He was concerned about the nation of Egypt. That's not his people. It's not his people. He was concerned in the prison for two prisoners from a society that he shouldn't be really, really part, parcel, or care about at all. But yet he was concerned for them. And he said they shouldn't look that bad and look that sad. So that's a uniqueness that Joseph had, and that's the uniqueness of a righteous individual too. When we look at it, but we're going to go into other aspects about a righteous individual in this particular Proverbs.
Verse 12, hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all transgressions.
All right. When you say love covers, a lot of brothers, think, hey, because I love you, I hide it. In Proverbs, in Apocrypha, a brother, hide the fault, hide his brother's fault. The thing, or hide his shame. The thing is that you try to look more to the good side of a brother and try to extrapolate the good part of the brother instead of focus on his weaknesses and help him, alleviate those weaknesses by seeing that the good that's in him, he's not using that. He's not tapping into that. It's almost like a guy that's a right-handed guy, but he's trying to shoot with his left hand, or a left-handed guy trying to shoot with his right hand all the time. And you say, well, you might do better, shoot with your better hand, your favorite hand, your hand that you're more accustomed to, and you'll feel comfortable. So when this is one of the areas here where it shows that a righteous individual could cover a fault of another one. You're not looking. You can always find something wrong with an individual. It don't take much to look for. You can always find something wrong. But can you find anything good in the next individual? Sometimes that might take for you to look deep. When the guy might be a hell raiser, then you gotta look deep. The guy that happen to be, rash with their mouth, you have to look deep. A guy that has disregard for anybody, privacy or well-being, sometimes you gotta look deep. So this is what the Proverbs are teaching you, how to deal, not so much for yourself, but how you're dealing with others. All right, continue.
Verse 13 reads, "In the lips of him that have discernment, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding."
In other words, look, sometimes people only understand pain. Change is never, ever comfortable, but change is often necessary. Often necessary, but it's never comfortable. So a rod, people say, say that 23rd Psalm, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Well, the rod is mean the staff, I got to beat you down a little bit, but I'm going to support you. The staff supports you. The rod, I got to straighten you out, because God lead you through the path of righteousness for his name's sake. So therefore, sometimes to be harnessed, just like you put a harness on a horse, you put a yoke on an ox, it's to have them move in the proper direction. That's what it's all about. And keep control, self-control. Some people just can't have an imaginary line. I remember I had a dog, and I'm just going to share this just briefly, not to digress too much. I had a dog that he had this collar on, and it had a certain distance. So I didn't know they had that kind of collar. So you put it in, and it's supposed to shock him if he go too far in a certain direction. The dog don't know what's going on. He knows that when he go over here, shake his head, and try to, you call him back, but you try him out first and let him know to come back, because he want to go where he want to go when you let him free. And he run over here, and next thing you know, something is shocking him a little bit, and he said, "Come on back here, come on back." And he come on back, and he knows nothing going on. And then you walk him back over there, and he started feeling, shake his head again. Some people need that kind of electrical shock, a border that they don't cross. Just knowing about that collar for an animal, I said, saying there's certain things you don't go into. That's sometimes we got to put boundaries on ourselves, without the shock. Continue.
Verse 14, it reads, "Wise men lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is an imminent ruin."
All right. So in other words, when wise men get up there, they talk with one another. They elaborate one another. They exchange. Well, people these days say we're building, but when you're building, your contribution is still yours. But you don't leave with just yours. You leave with the other guy's contribution too. So you contribute and he contribute, but you're both leaving with something that you didn't have and haven't lost a thing of what you have. That's one of the things about, working together and laying up knowledge. Wise men lay up knowledge. By the mouth of the foolish is an imminent ruin. So some people that talk foolish junk, you can listen to some things. What's so strange is that sometimes when we listen to certain comedians on TV, some of them have some wisdom that they bring out, and some of them talk so much foolishness that we become so entertained by the foolishness, knowing that it don't make no kind of righteous sense, but it's hilarious. So and more often than not, most people will gravitate and try to hold on to that foolishness than the wise things that's elaborated by individuals. But let's read a little bit further.
It reads, verse 15, "The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The ruin of the poor is their poverty.
Okay.
The wages of the righteous is life. The increase of the wicked is sin."
All right. That means right then and there, that means that you'll live better if you live in righteous. Nobody be trying to kill you right away. Now, I ain't saying bad they don't have the good people, but when it make that the increase of the wicked is sin, saying right then and there that this a guy that loves stealing. Again, but they're saying it in a different way. A lot of times this Proverbs in 10th chapter repeat itself, but they use a different analogy for the same thing they already covered. Continue. Slander, 11, 18.
It reads, he is in the way of life that heedeth instruction, but he that forsaketh reproof erreth. He that hideth hatred is of lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. And the multitude of words there wanteth not transgression, but he that refraineth his lips is wise.
Okay. All right. No, sometimes people talk too much. We have an example of this in the story. Joseph asked the brothers one thing, they throw another thing out. All right. So that's why in multiple words, there wanteth not transgression. Joseph finding problems by what they're saying, even though he asked them something directly. But so sometimes we got to be careful. We used to have a saying in business, don't volunteer information. Certain information you don't volunteer could be hurtful. You address the question. And a lot of times we don't address the question. And I always point to one of our great prophets, the prophet Ezekiel, when God said, can these bones live? Now, normally, if you're in a vision, you were in some spot where you're not supposed to be as a high priest. You're already in Babylon, but they take you out in the spirit. Then normally you figure you could become Superman, anything could go on. You got powers that you didn't know exist, and all that kind of stuff. But yet he didn't address it. He said, thou knowest. The question wasn't for God to know. The question was, do you see any hopes, any life in that, any possibility, that such could live? And then they had to be described that this is your people you don't recognize. So sometimes we don't see ourselves in things. Let's go a couple more minutes.
Verse 20.
Yes.
It reads, the tongue of the righteous is as choice silver. The heart of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but the foolish die for want of understanding.
Okay, that means a righteous person may give people information they need. Go ahead, continue. God's blessing.
Verse 22. The blessing of Yehovah, it maketh rich, and torah addeth nothing thereto.
Okay, go ahead.
It is a sport to a fool to do wickedness, and so is wisdom to a man of discernment.
In other words, a sport is something that you like to do, entertain you. You flex, you're building yourself up. All right. Some people could stand on the corner and talk trash all day long, and and didn't do anything to help their life out. And then some people sit around, like most brothers, and I know, and I'm saying more so D.C.B, but very few congregations I see that, will sit, on a break, and they go in and discuss certain things in the book, and they go at it hard in the book, but they go at it hard in the book to try to strengthen each one another, and say, how you see that? How you see that? Did you see this here? What about this? So we bringing stuff out and constantly building one another up, in that area, where a foolish conversation is, you're going further and further away than things that could be detrimental to your health. While a laudable conversation is something that's beneficial for your health. Go ahead.
Verse 24, it reads, the fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, and the desire of the righteous shall be granted.
Keep going.
When the whirlwind passeth, the wicked is no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation.
Keep going.
As vinegar to the teeth, and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. The fear of Yehovah prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The hope of the righteous is gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of Yehovah is a stronghold to the upright, but ruin to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be moved, but the wicked shall not inhabit the land. The mouth of the righteous buddeth with wisdom, but the froward tongue shall be cut off. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked is all frowardness. Hallelujah.
This Proverbs here go a lot of contrasts and repeat itself in a lot of areas, but it repeated in a different fashion, give you a different perspective on the same topic, same subject. So I know I went through that kind of fast in that area, but this Proverbs here is pretty much explains itself. In pithy sayings. These are real, actual pithy sayings in the Proverbs. We don't have to elaborate as much. But I always tell people to go back over it, because sometimes to say something one way, a person may not get it. So you have to explain it another way, the exact same thing. And that's what this Proverbs is actually doing. It's that you didn't get it. If you don't get it this way, then I'm gonna have to explain it to you another way.
Right.
We would say learn it to you. So if you got some of what I said, anything I said, any mistakes I made was been my own. And I'd like to greet everybody early Shabbat Shalom and Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah by Nasik. May the Most High God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Like the video, put the like, press the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if this is your first time being on the channel, or even if it's not and you haven't subscribed. And don't forget to share the link so that other people could gain this understanding. Blessed be the name of the Creator, and may the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from